very, very wise words. Don't be an asshole. It's bad for your health. So welcome back to the Totem Confidence Podcast. I'm your host, Ahmad Wazir. Happy to do today's show, which is based on inspiration like most of my shows. Today's show is going to serve a dual purpose. I was talking about my good friend Elden the other day, and Elden passed away early last year, due to complications with COVID-19. And it was really, really hard, not just on me, but on everyone who he touched with his life. Elden, I believe, was a social 9. And so I'm going to talk about the type 9s in general, and then talk about him as a social 9 in particular. And I'm happy to do this show because it's kind of, I don't want to cheapen it and say it's fan service, but quite a few of my type 9 friends support this podcast and support what I do. And I'm happy to do something to shine some light on things that they deal with that can help them navigate through their life. And that's what this is about. You know, the study of these 9 primary personality types is to give us tools, give us some of the tools that we can use to strengthen our relationships, professional relationships, personal relationships, and most important, our relationship to ourselves. So, what I'm going to do, I'm going to be referring to 2 books, and both of them are from one of my favorite authors and Enneagram teachers, Dr. Beatrice Chestnut. The Enneagram's Guide to Waking Up by her and her partner, Uranio Paez, great social 5 that I met a few years back, both of them. She's a self-preservation 9. She's a self-preservation 2. And also probably my favorite book, Enneagram book, The Complete Enneagram, again by Dr. Beatrice Chestnut. So I'm going to read this type 9 checklist, and if it resonates with you, just let me know, because I know quite a few type 9s, and their personality structure is very, very unique. So this is a type 9 checklist. You like it when everyone around you gets along harmoniously and there's no tension. You get along with most people pretty well and find it easy to blend in with the agendas of others. Let me stop there for a second. So the type 9 personality, they can easily go with the flow. They don't like conflict, so as a survival tactic, they would go along with someone's agenda, even if they don't want to, as opposed to hearing this person's mouth or it causing a lot of drama or conflict. The thing about it, though, is it's a survival tactic and not necessarily what they want to do. So you might be thinking this person is on board with you. No, they're just doing that out of survival. They're just playing dead, so to speak. But as soon as they can jump off the wagon with you and get away from you, they will, in a lot of cases. You don't like to disturb the peace and excel at mediating or avoiding conflicts. You rarely express anger in an open, direct way. Yeah, so the type 9, their baseline behavior is just peace. It's just, man, I'm just even keel. I don't need no drama. I don't want, no madness. And they'll just check out before expressing their anger. You can see many sides of an issue and easily understand different perspectives. You naturally support the people around you, not to get recognition for yourself, but just to be helpful and promote a peaceful environment. Again, these people are amazing to me. Very, very supportive, just selfless. And but the thing about it is, even though it's a beautiful thing, there's a longing inside there to be recognized as well. But because of that defense mechanism, that personality structure, it's hard for them to access what they need for themselves. So although it's beautiful how supportive they can be, they want that same support themselves. They want to be recognized themselves. So a person with, and I had to learn this, I'm a more assertive personality. I'm a social 5. So I don't mind getting in the spotlight sometimes and talking about me. But I have to, I try to get my type 9 friends to talk about themselves. And I'm honored with the ones who do talk to me about their lives and, and share, just things that they struggle with and everything. And they feel comfortable with me to share those things. So people tell you they find you easygoing, friendly, and easy to be around. You often find it hard to know what you want. You may sense there's a quote-unquote fog around you that doesn't let you see your own desires. However, it's a little easier to know what you don't want. Yeah, sometimes it's hard for the type 9s to make a decision and what they want, because they're programmed to just kind of, well, what do you want? Whatever you want. What do you want to eat? Well, I don't know. What do you want to eat? Dr. Chestnut talks about that in her book. Although you don't always speak up or offer your opinion, you don't like it when people overlook or exclude you. You dislike it when people are authoritarian and tell you what to do. It's funny because, and I shared this story before, one of my type 9 friends and colleagues, he could just check out on you. Because these people are easy to get along with and they're easygoing, people can get it twisted and think that means they're soft, and that means that they can just do and say what they want to say. And what the type 9 will do is they'll just check out and ignore your ass. It's funny to watch. Somebody just completely, especially somebody you going off and everything, and they just sitting there like looking at you or just totally tuning your ass out. So if this resonates with you, you may be a type 9. So now I'm going to talk about my friend Elden, who I believe is a social 9, and I'm going to read a description of the social 9 and then talk about my friend and brother Elden. The social 9. Before I go into there are 3 primary instincts that we as human beings have, according to the Enneagram and psychology in general. It's a self-preservation instinct, which is about taking care of self. How do I feel? Am I warm? Do I have enough to eat? It's something you don't even have to think about. Okay? You have the social instinct, which is, how do I fit in the hierarchy of this particular group that I'm in? What is my connection to the people in the group? What is my position? How do people see me? I lead with that instinct. I'm a social 5. And that's what my orientation is. Not so much self-preservation, but social. Where do I fit in the group? What do these people think about me? And I want to be liked. I want to be accepted. I don't have to think about it. It's just like I automatically just, when I walk into a room, it just kicks on, That's an instinct. And then you have the sexual or one-to-one instinct, and that's the intense desire to connect with, one person or a small group of people, and having that intense conversations and just sharing intimacy. It doesn't, even though it's called sexual, it doesn't necessarily mean sex. It just means that drive to connect with people like that on a one-on-one basis. And some people they lead with that, you know. And so my friend Elden, I believe, was a social 9. And the social 9, unlike the self-preservation 9 and the sexual 9, there was called the counter type. And the name, they give each of these subtypes names, and the name of the social 9 is participation. So I'm going to read the description and then talk about my friend. Social 9s express the passion of psychological laziness or sloth through merging with the group. So each type has a vice, so to speak. So the vice for the type 5 is stinginess. I can be stingy with my time and resources and energy. Well, the type 9 is laziness. And it doesn't mean just they don't do anything, because they can be very active. But the laziness is more so a laziness about doing the very things that they know they need to do. They will choose little secondary habits, and not habits, but secondary activities. For example, if they're registering for a class, it's hard for them to say, all right, I'm going to go in here and register for this class. It's something they really wanted to do. So they will get themselves busy doing a bunch of secondary activities. Stuff that ain't got nothing to do with that, because it's really hard for them to do things for themselves. So social 9s express the passion of psychological laziness or sloth through merging with the group, working hard in support of group interests, and prioritizing the group's needs above their own. When I first saw Elden, and Elden worked with me, he came later, a few years later after I started. And Elden, even in training, would be out helping people by himself, out helping get the trains in the yard. I never seen anybody do it before, and I never seen anybody do it since. I work for a light rail system, and the trains coming to the yard, they have what are called switches. That's the way they get from one track to another, you know. And so you throw the switch, and it'll take the train from one track to another. And we will have people in the yard to assist with that, so the train operators don't have to get off and throw their own switches. It just speeds it up. It's a courtesy. Elden would be out there. The rest of the class, I have no idea what his class was at. He's in training now, but he would be out in the yard throwing switches, helping the trains get in the yard. I've never seen anybody do that. I don't even know what he was supposed to do. But anyway, I don't want to go too far down there. Social 9s are congenial characters with a need to feel like they are part of things. A need that expresses an underlying feeling of being different or not fitting in with the group or community. So when I first met Elden, I was in a conversation with 2 other people. And again, I saw him out in the yard throwing switches. I was like, okay, this guy, okay. And so one day I'm in the break room, and I'm having a conversation with 2 other people that of course I knew them. I didn't know him. And he just kept jumping in the conversation. And I'm like, why does this dude keep jumping in the conversation? Like, you know, I wasn't rude about it. I'm like, I don't know him. Like, but he wants to belong. You know what I mean? He had a burning desire to connect with people. And so my first connection with him was a minor irritation of him jumping in this conversation. This person is a lighthearted, sociable, fun-loving character who expresses a driving need to be involved in the group. Yeah, that was that driving need. Like, oh, cool. I'm gonna jump in this conversation because I want to connect with these people. The socials nine's need to participate comes from their deeper feeling of not belonging to the group. This feeling drives the social nine to overcompensate by being generous and sacrificing whatever is necessary to meet the needs of the group as a way of earning membership. Anybody who knows Elden would stop what he's doing to help anybody. You know, he lived to help people. If we were short of people and he was supposed to be off, he would stay over and help. He would look at the schedule and say, to the supervisors who were doing the schedules for the next day, hey man, you should do this and you should do that. Like, he lived to make himself useful. That was his way of belonging, of feeling connected, making himself valuable in the room that he was in, earning, like they said, earning membership by being helpful. They have an intense need to feel they are a part of things because they don't feel that they are. They feel like they have to do something extra in order to be included in a group. So they work twice as hard to support the group to make sure they belong. I've never seen anyone make a connection with every person. Just have a conversation with every person, know something about everybody, have a relationship with everybody. That he was driven by people, by being there for people. I know helpful people, but he was something different, man. I said this, and I was blessed to speak at his funeral. And I remember going down to the wake, and then afterwards we went to the house, the family's house, his parents' house, and they had family, and some of us came down from work. A small group of us came down from Charlotte. He lived in Norfolk. Well, he was from Norfolk, Virginia. And I was asked to speak, and I had to speak the next day. The funeral was the next day. And so one of my colleagues, I call her the Oracle because she's just very spiritual and just has very deep insight. That's just my nickname for her. And she kept looking at me and saying, "Are you ready for tomorrow?" I said, yeah. Because I was just going to get up there and freestyle and, tell some funny stories or something like, and she looked at me and she said, we were at the family's house. And she said, "Are you sure you're ready?" I'm like, yeah, I've been public speaking since I was, a child. And yeah. She said, yeah, but this is different. So again, are you sure you're ready? And I picked up on a hint. I'm a little slow sometimes, but I did pick up on a hint. Basically like, dude, don't get up there and freestyle this. You need to prepare something. And so I went back to the hotel that I was staying in, and I wrote out what I was going to say. And I bring this up because, and I'll get more into it later, one of the things I talked about was how Elden, every time I saw him, he would hand me a bottle of water. Or if he didn't have the water in his hand, he would tell me to go out in his car, and he just kept like all this water to give people. He was just so helpful, man. He lived for that. It gave him joy just to be able to give you something. Elden did so much good for people, and it came out later, and I'm still hearing stories. People being short on money, and he loaning money and buying things for people. You know what I'm saying? Somebody might have been on hard times and they needed something, and he didn't run back and say everything that he did. But that social nine, look, I'm here, I'm going to be valuable. What do you need? I got you. That was just in his DNA. Social nines have a passion for doing what is necessary to pay the ticket for group admission, for being one with that group, but it takes a lot of effort. Social nines can be workaholics. They feel a need to work hard and give a lot. Elden was a workaholic. Elden was always at work. He would come to work, he would work on one of his days off, and he would stay over, especially if we were short and we needed help. He would not go home unless he absolutely had to. And every day, hey, y'all need somebody? Need me to stay? And it wasn't about the money for him. Don't get me wrong, we all need money, but it was just, I need to be valuable. I need to show y'all I got y'all. And we knew it, But it's not just work. They energetically demonstrate friendliness and sociability. They don't show their pain. They don't burden others. And they don't show people how much energy it takes to devote so much effort to the community. This is true. I would, when I first really got to know Elden, I was one of his trainers. When he came out of class, we do the on-the-job training, and I was the first person that he went with to learn how to operate a train. Now, he had way more experience than me. He worked prior to, coming to Charlotte, and he had years and years of rail experience. And I remember my first conversation with him when I knew that the first day they put us together, and I said, Elden, I know you got way more experience than I do. I said, but if I put you on a pedestal like that, I'm setting you up for failure. So just walk with me. Just be, just trust me, you know what I mean? And allow me to do what I do. I'm not going to take anything away that you know. And he rolled with it. He was like, cool. He never hey man, I know this. He probably forgot more rail than I knew, but he rolled with me and allowed me to do my job. And he was one of the funniest people I ever met. And we got to cracking up so bad one day in the cab. We were just laughing, and a lady knocked on the door because, we're in the train, and so the train has a door. We're separated from the passengers. And the lady said, we can hear y'all out here, right? But we just hit it off, man, and he could do impersonations. I could do impersonations. So I think we used to kind of compete, especially when other people are around. And just, he just lived for people. We both have a strong social instinct, but I couldn't compete with him when it came to that. He would work a room. He would work a room. I could be Scottie Pippen, but he was the Michael Jordan of that room. So yeah, these are people who are generous and unselfish, mindful of the group, and gifted in meeting the needs of others to the point where they sacrifice themselves to satisfy the responsibility others want to put on them. Yeah, Elden would work, man. I would be concerned about him in the way he worked. One of his shifts was early in the morning, and I was concerned, and he would stay later, but it's whatever the group needed. In contrast to the other two nine subtypes who tend to be more subdued characters, social nines are very outgoing and energetic. This is what makes this the counter type nine. Social nines have a special brand of strength because they feel motivated to fight for the needs of the group. So Elden and I, whenever someone would get in trouble, we don't have a union in Charlotte, and this is before I went into supervision. We would call ourselves the Lynx Law Firm, and somebody would get in trouble, and Elden would call me. Hey man, this person messed up, man. They did this, and we would sit there and brainstorm to see what we could do to help this person. But he was more so driven. He would come to me, and even if I felt like this person was just dead ass guilty, he still wanted to find a way to help people. He didn't want to see anybody get in trouble. I mean, it's just beautiful. Social nines are extroverted, expressive, and forceful, and so they go against the inertia of the typical type 9 in some ways, but on the inside they still have a sense of laziness about their own needs and wants. It was hard for me to get Elden to talk about himself. He would see me and I'm going through something, and man, what the hell going on, man? What's wrong with you? And I tell him, this is what's going on, or I got this going on in my life, and going through this or that. And so, man, well, how you doing? I'm all right. And he just go right back to wanting to talk about me, or talk about somebody else who's going through a difficult time, and somebody that he's helping. Social nines make very good leaders. They're the best kind of leaders. In fact, in the sense that they are good, unselfish people who strive to satisfy. In fact, in the sense that they are good, unselfish people who strive to satisfy the responsibility given to them. Yeah. One of the worst things I see in leadership is people who get into leadership to look out for themselves. They're the worst. Elden always thought about the needs of other people. And those are the best leaders, in my opinion. The Bible says, let who he is greatest among you be your servant. So we really wanted him to go into leadership, but part of him didn't want to leave the rank and file because he was their strongest advocate, or one of their strongest advocates. They can be especially gifted mediators. They naturally want to translate differing opinions so that everyone is heard and conflict in the group is avoided. Yeah, I could go to him about something, and I might be upset at a person, and he like, nah, that ain't what it is, man. It's just such. He wasn't a cosigner just to be a cosigner. He had a way of looking at things objectively, and even if he disagreed, he would state it in a way that it wasn't like, nah, you're wrong. He just gave a different side to it. I would bounce so much stuff off of him to get his perspective. And he told me one time, he said, man, you want to be recognized. He said, you have a lot of stuff to offer, and you get frustrated because people don't seem to recognize it. He's the first person that told me something like that. They have the ability to bear a lot, sometimes to the extent they can become a human punching bag. These nines give themselves unconditionally as a response to a deeper, sometimes unconscious fear of abandonment, conflict, separation, and a potential loss of peace and harmony. This is for nines in general. Nines have a hard time. They can stay in uncomfortable situations for the longest time. They can stay on a job they hate. Or they can deal with in relationships that they might be having a hard time in that relationship and wanting to make a change, but it's hard for them to get in motion and for their own needs, or it's hard for them to hurt someone else. So Um, I was talking to another type 9 the other day, and she was sharing uh, something that she's going through in a relationship that she's dealing with. And she wants to get out of that relationship, but she said, I want him to do it though. I don't want to be the one to do it. I want him to do it. You know, she doesn't want to be the one. She doesn't want this person who she's tired of, but she doesn't want that person to be hurt by her leaving, even though this person is hurting her. You know, so nines will stay and make themselves punching bags sometimes. Um, and again, it's an unconscious fear of abandonment, conflict, separation, and potential loss of peace and harmony. It's not that they cowards, you know. It's just like, oh, it's upsetting their nervous system, so to speak. Just the thought of strife and that drama that would come from that separation. So sometimes they'll stay in those situations. Social nines like to control things, and they like to talk a lot. Yes, that's Elden. Because they work so hard for the group, they may have no time left for themselves. They tend to have very full lives full of everything but themselves. And while social nines get their identity and their sense of reality from belonging, they often doubt their own existence, their own sense of self. Yeah, man. Come to find out, when Elden passed away, all the good that he did for people. Elden used to cook for people. I mean, I didn't know he did all this. He wouldn't even talk about this stuff, and we talked all the time. He would be, if somebody have a party or something, he's over there cooking food. At the funeral, one of our coworkers, I didn't notice, he had surgery and hip surgery, and Elden would talk to him every day to get him to feel, just trying to get him through that time, that tough time. I didn't know that. Elden didn't even talk about the stuff that he did for people. It's amazing to me. The outward expression of this subtype is more happy than sad, but theirs may ultimately be a kind of partial participation. Underneath their cheerful exterior, their sense of not belonging persists and creates a kind of sadness that isn't communicated to others. They don't feel their suffering very much, but they don't feel extreme euphoric highs either. They are more in the middle emotionally, neither hot nor cold, and they may be somewhat detached from their emotions and sensations. Yeah. It would take a lot for him to finally open up and talk about what he was going through. And even then, it was just very selective. It was almost like, I don't want to burden you with my stuff, so let's get back to your stuff. Social nines can look like type 3s because they work very hard and accomplish a lot without showing the stress of it. But they differ from 3s in that they are much more reluctant to be in the spotlight, and they don't support the group to create an image or to win admiration from others. Yeah, they just want to help. I don't need the kudos. I don't need the credit. This is true. They may also be mistaken for 2s because they are active in meeting the needs of others, but they have much less need for approval and appreciation than 2s and are generally more emotionally steady. Yeah. Yeah, man. The Lynx Law Firm. I miss those days, man, of Elder calling me and this person is in trouble and their ass could be dead to rights, man. Like, Elder, man, that person guilty. But he just had this soft spot for people. And I'm going to segue as I bring this to a conclusion to Elden's funeral. And I talked about that a little bit in the beginning. I was asked to speak. And there was some drama surrounding his funeral, which I will not go into at this time. I'll just say it like this. I used to tell Elden, you probably could work for the CIA, man. Elden could talk people into doing pretty much anything. He definitely could get people to share things about themselves. He could take the most guarded person, you put them in a room with Elden, and they spilling their guts. They're telling their life story, he just was very, very convincing. He felt like a safe space, and sure enough, you didn't hear nobody business being leaked out by him. He was the keeper of secrets, you know. So anyway, I wasn't gonna go to the funeral. First of all, because I don't really do a lot of funerals. I have a hard time with funerals, and then there was some drama there that didn't involve me, but I still just. And so Jamil, my brother, was like, "Nah, you gotta go." Especially after I was asked to speak. He said, "You gotta go and send your mans off, man." So I decided to go. I bought a suit and drove to Norfolk. Rented a car and drove to Norfolk. So the day of the funeral, I different people got up. They allowed the pastor, and I want to be respectful right here. I'll just say that the pastor didn't know Elden, so I'm glad that I went. He did the best he could, but someone that has such an impact on people, it wasn't, it didn't do him any justice to not know Elden. It wasn't any justice for the people who were there. You understand? Because he touched so many people's lives. Now, we're back in his hometown, and it's a delegation of us from Charlotte that worked with Elden. So we're there with his family. And I just believe they were really shocked when we got up, because all of us spoke, or most of us spoke. I don't think every single one of us spoke, but a few of us who came from Charlotte spoke. And I just believe it was a shock to them to know that their family member, their Elden, that they grew up with, moved to this city and had this impact on these people that he worked with. Like, hey, Elden did all. I mean, they knew him, they knew his heart and all of that, but he came and touched us, and so when I got up and spoke, I wrote my words out, and I believe God used me to give him his proper send off, because he deserved more than just someone just up there preaching but didn't necessarily know him. And so when I spoke, by God's grace, it moved the people. I looked at his family on the front row, and I didn't do this for that, because I was reluctant to even do it. But I believe God used me as an instrument that day to give him the eulogy that he deserved as someone who touched so many people. And so I remember there's a part when I was speaking, when I started impersonating Elden, and I looked at his family, and I believe his father started laughing, and his mother smiled. And but that's one of my proudest moments, because I took me out the picture and I listened both to Jamil, who encouraged me to go in the first place, because I'm thinking about me and discomfort to me, and the Oracle, who really emphasized that I needed to prepare my words. And the way we represented, the delegation of us who came from Charlotte, like, it was just mind blowing, I believe, to his family and friends, like, because we were, we look like an official delegation, and the way, the words that we shared, and I was given the authorization from my manager then to speak on behalf of the organization. And so it was very professional, but very real and heartfelt, the orientation. And I say that to say, for someone who touched so many of us in a short time that he was there, that was a small price to pay. But I'm so glad that I got out of the way, because he deserved that, and those who were there deserve to hear how he touched people. They grew up with him, but we were there with him at the end. And he didn't stop when he left Norfolk being Elden. He kept helping people. He kept making himself useful. He kept serving. He kept being selfless. And I'm just thankful to have that brother in my life, the time that I did have him. And I think about him all the time. I miss him. I'm sure his family. I think about his son, his sons, and the people that he left behind, his family that he left behind. And, you know, the Quran says, speak not of those who die or are killed in Allah's way is dead, for they are alive, but you understand not. The flesh doesn't live forever, but the spirit, the words and the deeds and our good deeds and the way we impact other people, that doesn't die, you know. So as I bring this to a close, I'm thankful for my my brother Elden, and I'm thankful for the Type 9s that are in my life, who are some of my greatest teachers. Yeah, I'll conclude there. This is Totem Confidence Podcast. I'm Ahmad Wazir. We'll talk to you again. Peace.